Hello, hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, please. Hello. Okay, there we go. YouTube, hello. Perfect, perfect. All right. Okay, we're live. Private, welcome. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testicles, that is all. I hope that was over 30 seconds since the start of the stream. It's apparently advertisers don't like that. You say testicles within the first 30 seconds of the stream, or other words for that matter. Okay, what did I do yesterday? We switched around attachment processing, yes. We split apart the transform entity data, yes. I made, yeah, I did this right scope thingy. I made a right scope, and I think it's working. I have this nice little function here that I can pass in a callback to, where it kind of, I guess it's called upgrading the lock. I've come to find out. I think I wrote this on stream yesterday. Yes or no? I don't remember, but I've applied it now. It's in all the places it needs to be, and I think it's working. So we we have the scope lock, and then with that lock we unlock the read lock. We right lock it, call our whatever write function we need, unlock the write lock, and then go back into the read lock. Now this is a little, excuse me, it's a little strange because in between these two lines and these two lines, like, a lot of things could change because you essentially say, like, you're trying to acquire, you're unlocking, letting something else do something, and then right locking. So there's latent time involved there. So that's a little something to keep in mind. What is ECS, Entity Component System? Have my applied scientist interview at Amazon tomorrow. Ah, look. Any tips? Well, I hope you've studied, if it's tomorrow. I hope you've studied. I don't know what an applied scientist interview is like, but I'm sure there's some... I'm sure there is some resources on YouTube. That's where I went to study for some of my FANG interviews. Or manga, or what is the... mangoes? Isn't there like a gay... There's like a gay acronym for it too. I forget what that one is though. So yeah, let's do some little testy tests. I think I want to take a full like jot down of some profiling for where I'm at right now. Let's can we run 10k entities? Let's see if we can run 10k. Okay, we're spawning. Okay, we are at 3,000 entities. Now we're at 4,000. 5,000. Because I remember yesterday we were trying this and we would like almost get to 10,000 and then we'd hit like a thread lock issue. Approaching 7,000 here. 7,000. 8,000. It's getting choppy. Can we go over 9,000? We have gone over 9,000. Approaching 10. Approaching 10,000 entities. We are at 10,000 entities, sir. We've reached our cruising altitude. Feel free to walk about the cabin. The man, the myth, the drong. My drong. The man, the drong, the my drong. Yeah, we're running at a whopping 13 FPS. That's high speed. At a whopping 13 FPS. Now, I'm gonna get a trace here. Okay, can we pause for a second? Can we pause and look at that? What is my biggest bottleneck here? Yeah, that's a sea of red. The representation processor is taking 30 milliseconds every frame. Valid instance. Yeah, so we're setting the... Let me open up the representation processor. So I folded this logic in here. So it's specifically... Where is it? Where is it? I guess it's handling attachments as well. And so it's never going to be this bad. This is the absolute worst it'll get. Worst it will get. What am I looking at? Add entity instance, blah, 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 blah. Here's where I'm looking for. This section here. This is what takes most of the time. Is this section. And that's basically updating the transform of the instance and setting the custom ID. Okay. And then processing attached data, which attached data could get kind of bad. That could get kind of bad. Then we have to set the custom data on that guy as well. Is there going to be... Yeah, because the attachment data, like, there's only going to be more attachments, and right now there's only one. So, like, is this a valid way to handle that? Maybe I should go back to the world... Ooh, the LOD processor taking 7 milliseconds. Damn. Damn. Appreciate the sub, my dude. Welcome in. Let's give me the big picture stats here. Give me the big picture stats. Okay, so our velocity processor was taking 142 milliseconds. How bad was that compared to our old system? Let's compare.
All right, now
Shush. Okay, here's my last 10K. Oh, it was actually taking longer. It's taking longer by about 30 milliseconds. State tree processor. Oh my god, everything is taking longer. ISM 40. It's like twice as long. Move to. State tree. Wow, it's all now. Is this just the overhead of the locking, the thread locking? Okay, LOD processor is faster. Probably because it has less lock contention, because it's only like one, it's only iterating over like one piece of entity data. Entity. I wonder if I increase the number of striped locks that I have, if it gets better or not. Chunk processor is still very fast. Same with ISM is now. That's not the right one. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would call worse, almost across the board. Now, how good does it get once I turn them all into things running on the background thread? So once I get far enough away, they'll just disappear. And then it'll basically entirely run on the background thread. Not a whole lot better. Not a whole lot better. We got maybe like 8 extra FPS there. Okay. I guess I can't really glean any. Well, let me look at a frame here. Still, yeah, the LOD processor. Oh. Interesting. The LOD processor is now my kind of bottleneck. Well, I can throw that on a background thread easy peasy. If that's the case. Let's see here. Velocity processor, dude, it's so bad. It is so bad. It's actually worse than just using UObjects. It scales worse than UObjects. Interesting. So it's like at 2K, the performance is actually better, but at 10K, it's worse. So yeah, I should probably let's write some of these stats down. Let's make some new tables to compare the architectures. Are you sure you're not prematurely optimal? Yeah, I'm sure. Next question. Okay, so let's grab a 2K. Soak it for about 2 minutes. We'll need to let I guess 10K can. Now, I wonder if I had let everything spawn or not. This might not have been a true 10K test, actually. I don't remember if I ran the profiler after they were all finished spawning or not. Because I feel like I would just get into position and then start the thing. Oh, and also yesterday, funny thing happened. Yesterday, I made some changes to my transform entity data, and I split apart the transform into location, rotation, separate pieces of data, and it reduced all of my processor times by half, and I was blown away yesterday. Turns out I broke the state tree, and half of my entities were not running. So it actually wasn't actually that fucking beneficial at all. Anyways, so this is going to be back to entity pool. I'll say plus per entity locks method plus write scope. And we'll see how bad this is. We'll see how bad this is. UK entities, all ISMC for 2 minutes. Okay, so let's stop there. Go back down to 2000. And just see where we're at, right? We just need a lay of the land here. Definition of too good to be true. Yeah, it literally was. I can't believe I didn't realize that yesterday. Okay, I don't know if I need to run it for a full 2 minutes. Because I think after a minute it should probably be fine. I start a timer anyways, just get somewhere close to the proper. When do you think the game will be ask me again in 5 years. So we're rocking about 60 FPS here. Okay, we're at about 30 seconds here. Have you thought of implementing any automated benchmarks or similar? I've done that at work. I have not done that for Unreal Engine. I have no idea what that would take for Unreal Engine. I'd like that for my project as well. Yeah, that could be useful. I don't have any sort of like build pipeline though. So like any automated test would be something that would just have to be ran manually at this point. Which is what I'm doing now anyway. So I don't think it would be that big of a benefit for me because I just don't have like a build pipeline set up or anything. Okay, that's probably good. That's probably good. Stop that so we can close. Thank you. So this is 2,000 entities. Let's jot these down. Computing data. Okay, thank you. And I've turned off the target processor. That's my problem child. That's what I think I'm gonna actually work on today after I get these down. Okay, velocity processor. Okay, what do we got here? Switch that over just a tad. Velocity processor count. What do we got? 5,000. Okay. That was actually... Okay, so this actually ran a lot more. Max was 62.9, average 27.2, median 27.5. Okay, target didn't run. On purpose. On purpose, I say. 4892, max 53.4, average 0.7. 83 5089 max 59.8. That's 29. That's not the right number. 59.8. 12s across the board there. ISM processor. Now these are the definitions of these have changed a little bit, so it's not like a no longer a direct one-to-one comparison, but I can kind of like infer what that might be. 9.6, 6.8, 6.3, attachment. We don't do attachment anymore, right? Because that's a part of the representation processor. So representation processor ran 5,100 times. 11.8. 5.1 chunk, chunky boy. Goddamn, the chunk processor just runs like a dream. If all of my children could be as good as chunk processor, I would have no problems. 0.75 max. 0.19, 0.17. Okay, LOD. Where did you go? Max, your max was 38 milliseconds. What the hell happened there? 1.9, 1.9. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna write some asterisks here. Attachment, processor folded into representation processor. Right? The entirety of it, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So this, yeah, maybe there's some things we could do on the background thread to really eke out some performance. And then moved some velocity processing. I'll just say minor. Move some velocity processing from move to into velocity. What other caveats do we have here? ISM. Can you say hi to me, please? No. You're gonna have to sit in that discomfort for a little bit. ISM. What did I do with ISM processor? There it is. You, sir. Okay, yeah, you don't actually apply. Right. You don't apply the data anymore, so. So, ISM set data moved into representation. So the representation processor is like overloaded. It's actually running quite well. Okay, so with our archetype method, if we add ISM attachment and representation together, what do we get? Like 7 median, 7.5 median. And we're down to 5.1. So that is faster. That is faster. You ever decide to set up CI/CD? I've got some stuff for Azure DevOps I can pass along if you want it. Sure, yeah, if I ever get there. If I ever get there. We'll see. Probably just end up writing my own, of course. Velocity processing has gotten worse. It's gotten worse. Now, actually, ISM still has a good amount in it. So it's actually, the total is actually up. So it would be ISM plus representation plus attachment is actually overall up. Didn't run. I'll say doesn't exist. So this isn't, these numbers aren't great. I'll say that. They're not great. They're higher across the board, even compared to our just straight up pool method. And this was with them all running on the game thread, so there was no locks or anything. Yeah, we're still like higher across. Well, move to processor is down, but that's because we literally moved shit out of move to processor. ISM 7.1 plus attachment 7.4 or 4.4 rather, so that would be 11.5. 6 so it's about the same. that one's about the same actually as it was before. Chunk is down, LOD is up. Okay, so this is enlightening. This is really good information. This is really good information to have. Okay, so what this means is that multi-threading may just not even fucking be worth it. May not even fucking be worth it. I think what I can try and do, let's give it a true, like, where are we at? Let's increase the number of locks that we have to prevent the number of collisions. I don't know if, like, we'll do 10,000, just the number of entities that we have. We'll do that to see if with the thread contention improves at all. If we get a little bit more performance there. And so what I do is like I use a lock striping method, which is where like you create a mutex and then you can use a hash and a modulo to like just grab something for this given entity which has an ID, hash it, do a modulo, get the number of stripes, right? Modulo by the number of stripes, and then that way like it will always grab one from this list, even if the list is shorter. The modulo will just make it wrap back around, And, I think you're just kind of, at that point, you're just kind of banking on there not being that many coincidences that happen, where you're iterating over either the same exact entity or a different entity that has the same lock index. And so, yeah, we'll see how much better this gets. Although it was wait, hang on. I ran it at 2000 and it was at 2048. So like that's That's all I can do there. I mean, we can run it with 10K entities, I suppose. Okay, we'll try 10K again. See if that gets any better. Probably won't. What I like about this, though, is that it's pretty stable. It is pretty stable. Okay, so we are at 4,000 entities. What is ECS System? Like and sub. Thank you. Thank you for your sub, man. I appreciate that. Welcome in, everyone. An ECS System, it stands for Entity Component System. And it's a data-driven architecture that allows you to run thousands and thousands and thousands of NPCs like we're witnessing right now. We have 8,000. It's quite slow. But it takes advantage of the principles of CPU cache locality to very efficiently iterate. And there's a lot of different things you can do with it. Okay, so we are at 10,000. The performance does not seem... Maybe I got a couple frames out of that. Let's do performance trace here. Okay, so this is 10,000 entities. And what I'm building an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite with procedural terrain. It's a very large world, very large open world that I have. So, and I want to run the whole world, or at least like as much as possible. And I want to have like NPC ran colonies that create like other factions to interact with and stuff. And I want those to be on and running, as with your colony, right? Like if you run to the other side of the world, I want your colony to still be running and doing the real thing. I don't want to fake it. Fuck that. I want the real shit. And hopefully that makes the world feel very alive, right? That's what I'm hoping for. That is what I'm hoping for. So that's why I'm building my own ECS system. I'm trying to see, like, for what I need it for, like, what trade-offs can I make, you know? Like, what does my ECS need to focus on? So let's take a peek at some of these. Dude, oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's way worse. It's worse than just using UObjects, actually, which is kind of insane. It's good to note that down, though. I've learned. So my original ECS system, I just used UObjects for entity data, which is like, that's not taking advantage of CPU cache locality at all. So you're not supposed to do that, right? I did that just because like it was really easy to work with and it was really easy to multi-thread things, and there wasn't very much thread contention because the data didn't really change, like, because it was all pointers, right? So there was very little threading issues because, you know, I only ever wrote to like one piece of one data, and so like the thread contention just got a lot finer grained, became less of an issue. This is your own engine also? No, this is Unreal Engine. Logo Man, thank you for the sub. Welcome. So here is my old, this is with my old UObject approach, and yeah, it's scaled better. It's scaled better, actually, across the board, pretty much. So maybe that wasn't so dumb after all. Checkmate atheists. Now these are changed, so it's not like like I said, it's not like a complete one-to-one. So yeah, that's very interesting. Should I write? Let's write down. Let's jot, since we have it here. Let's jot down the 10K. Let's not put the 2 minutes there because I have no idea how long it ran. Let's jot these numbers down. So velocity, viscosity, 6, 7, 8, 5, max 260. Jesus, these numbers are massive. Move to 185, wrong thing. 438, 87, 82. Count, what do I have here? 473, 176, 80, 70 for date tree. ISM, what are you? ISM is 710. You actually ran quite a bit, didn't you? 96, 37, 37. Attachment didn't exist anymore. LOD. LOD. You did a max. Well, you ran 709 times. You did a max of 24, 4.9. 4.9 and 4.2. Representation processor 709. Representation processor, what am I looking at? 709, 51, 28, 28. And then last but not least, the chunk processor. Max is 1.8, 0.9, 0.9. Okay, we got those numbers down. Okay. Let's show the world off a little bit here. Let's grab a new seed as well. Grab a new seed. 686, 687. So I'm working on an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite with procedural destructible terrain and AI generated quests is what I'll do here. So this is just one random seed. Oh shit, I might be spawning things too. I might have spawning turned on. So we'll see how that goes. Rather just pin a message that explains what is ECS and what are you making and what engine you're using and all the stuff. First of all that stuff cannot fit in a pinned message, and second of all, the people still ask it anyway. I have had that before. I was pinning messages for a long time. People don't read it. And also, you know, the engagement's nice. You know, some people might be coming in and you know, people are coming in and out all the time, right? So re-explaining things isn't all so bad. It does get tiring though. It does get tiring. So yeah, we have spawning turned on. Is that even working properly? I should probably turn that off. But that's why it's so laggy. Oh yeah, we got some guys in the forest there. God, it's so laggy. Oh, he's even freaking out. Okay, hang on, let's turn that off. Turn off spawning. Okay, we'll grab a new seed too, why not? Why not? 6, 8, 8. Here we go. Nice flat red zone here. So we're in our meadows biome here. Here's the world map, also procedurally generated. Each one of these different colors is like a different zone or a different biome in the world. They have different names as well up at the top. Obsidian Spire, the Burning Steps of Azathoth. That's like, these are all like AI generated, so that's like a straight ripoff, right? Almost. Dragon's Maw, the Cerberus Gate of the Underworld. I am in Thunderbloom Hollow at the moment. We are right next to the Land of the Phoenixes. So yeah, this is like my meadows biome that I have. And I was just playing around with the different color textures, so this is just like the red texture. And then there's a forest biome on the other side of this mountain, which I think I may be able to get up to from here. Usually you can't walk up these mountains. Can I get up here? Yeah, well, clever pathfinding. I can probably get up here. Yeah. There we go. There's another zone right there. We have underground caves as well. Underground caves. Hopefully we'll get some dungeons and ore and monsters and stuff spawned down here to make it fun and interesting. So yeah, that's one seed. We need another seed. 6, 8, 9. Danny Marty, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. And thank you for the subs, guys, over on YouTube. A nice seed to show off some different biomes, different terrain noises and whatnot. Nice cave right there. That's interesting. That is an interesting way that it sliced out the terrain. When it pops out over here, that's kind of cool. We got the noodle caves and the cheese cave. So this is like a cheese cave, cheese noise. And then the noodles connect them. Theoretically, it's all just random, so sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it's an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite, and I want to run the whole world. So I'm making my own ECS system. There's a lot of like technical considerations and technical challenges that I got to solve with running the whole world, it being procedural, right? It being procedural. And like for the logic that I would need on my NPCs, it's not just like crowd, you know, random crowd logic where it's like all pre-baked logic and they just kind of like walk in a path, a pre-made path. All my NPCs have their own ability system components. They all have their own inventories and equipment, and they all have their own state trees that are dynamic that I can change. Like I have control over all of that. And so, you know, they're all able to be in combat and stuff like that. So it's a lot heavier than just like your traditional use case of like something built in like Mass. That's why I wanted to create my own. Mass didn't have anything out of the box. Mass is Unreal Engine's built-in ECS. But it didn't have anything out of the box that would work for me. And I found it quite difficult to work with, so I built my own. The terrain is destructible, sort of. Doesn't work super well at the moment. Sometimes not at all. There we go. There we go. So it does deform at runtime, but obviously it looks horrible. It's not ready yet. It's just kind of a proof of concept there. But yeah, it does deform the terrain. And I'd show some of the Colony Sim tasks off, but they're not working at the moment. Oh, what did I just ate something in my inventory? How did that happen? That was weird. Okay. Well, I got dynamic tree chopping too, which is what I wanted to show here. So the meshes actually deform at runtime, and I don't know why I just lagged really bad right there. Yeah, so like wherever your axe connects, it'll chop through the tree at, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's pretty fun. Oh my god, I can't hit the same spot anymore. There we go. Okay, so you chop through, you chop through, you get some wood. And you can keep chopping. There we go. Eventually there's going to be like a tree chopping skill that you can level up and stuff like that, so. Eventually. But yeah, that's the game I'm working on. Working on the ECS right now. And so what I wanted to do today, we've got the entities running stably, but I think I've just implemented a worse system actually now. It's just straight up worse. Bro doesn't read chat anymore. Yeah, well, I don't know what you want me to respond with when you just say, can you swim in game? Right now, no. If the world is procedurally... See, here's a good question. Here's a very good question. If the world is procedurally generated and randomized, how do you persist the colony location, etc.? So the first thing that I do is that I have the nav mesh on at all times. So the nav mesh never like gets cleaned up or anything when the terrain chunks load or unload. I save the terrain chunk raw data. I don't save the mesh. And so I can use that raw data to give to the nav mesh. So the nav mesh knows what the terrain should look like, whether the terrain's there or not. So that's how the entities can like move around and stuff still. But like as for like persisting the colony and stuff like that, I mean, that just is going to be through the power of instanced static meshes and nanite, right? Potentially just some culling as well. So the ISMs, it'll all be instanced. Everything will be instanced. So, no draw calls, no additional draw calls. It'll all just be cached, saved, different save files probably. But yeah, memory will be my biggest bottleneck for sure. Here's 2,000 entities running rather performantly. About 60 FPS, 55-ish, 55 to 60 it seems. But I think I need to make a decision here on if I want to go back to the archetypal queries, which was my best raw iteration speed, but it made multi-threading very difficult. Very difficult. But now that I found that multi-threading doesn't really scale that well, I'm thinking that it's reasonable to want to go back to this world. Now that kind of sucks because I've done a bunch of shit since then. So it's going to be kind of annoying refactor to make, but it shouldn't be that bad. It can be completable within a day, so not that much lost work. But I think I wanted to take care of my problem child today because that has the biggest issue. Like when I turn on the target processor is the worst thing I've ever written. It takes so long to run. And this is because for each entity it has to check every other entity to see if it's close enough to like become a target and get aggro. So it does like aggro table stuff as well. But I chunk the entities, so it only has to consider the nearby ones, but it still takes a while. So I need to change how these entity queries work, I think, under the hood. I was going to change them from doing the ability system components here, but that was going to be a big change. It was okay. Now, I guess I need to make a decision on whether or not I want to take care of the target processor today, or if I want to, like, revert, which... that is something... if I'm going to revert that... I'm thinking, like, going to a world where we just do parallel processing. Because that shouldn't have any thread contention, because we're not running the same entities on the same thread anymore. And then any adds or removes from the entity data will happen outside the parallel processing step, hopefully. I still need the ability to write async, completely async, non-frame blocking queries or processors. So I would need to copy the data in is what I would need to do. I was doing that. I was doing the frame cache. But that was running into some performance bottlenecks, because like I was treating it as if I was going to run everything async, which maybe I shouldn't treat it that way. And like it was taking, like, without parallel processing, it was taking like 4 or 5 milliseconds per frame at 2,000 entities, which, you know, that already is way more than I can that's like way more than I can give up for my frame budget. And that like has to happen on the game thread. So that's kind of difficult. And even with parallel processing, I only got it down to like 1.5 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds at worst, you know. So it's like at 10k entities, that would be 10 milliseconds. And that's like that's regardless of what form the entities take. So that didn't scale very well. Now, if I only cache the needed data, and potentially, I can even cache it on the background thread, although I don't know how much contention that's going to have. Well, if I only run well, no, they could be running at any time. If they're not going to be frame blocking, they could be running at any time. Yeah, I think maybe I should just try and take a hacksaw to this target processor and then see how good we can get it, right? How good can we get this? Because right now it runs in like 2 seconds, which is so slow. That is so astronomically slow. Yeah, so a lot of this is doing like, well, a lot of it's like, hang on, let's just start making some changes. So easy changes that we can make is like, let's not use the combat data till we actually need it. Let's not use the combat data till we actually need it. That way it's like nice and fresh in the cache as well. Location data, you're not used until down there, so let's do that. And honestly, we can just replace entity location with we don't need an intermediary variable for that anymore, like a middle manager variable. Location data, we'll put that in the same spot basically. And then what are we doing here? Oh, right. Okay, so we need to just do that. Pass that in by ref, that'll be fine. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be, it's gonna be rough. I will need to do the lock, and so this is gonna just absolutely tank performance. But the thing is, like, the write locks, like writing to the ASC, I don't actually think needs a lock. Don't know if that actually needs a lock. Because nothing else writes to it, so that should be fine. At least to that specific piece of data. Do I actually edit? I don't actually ever edit the ability system data. So this is all completely const. Actually. You're making a mistake by going live while writing a game. Now, anyone who sees this that knows how to hack, they know how the codes you're using so they can easily scratch the game. how do I not be rude about this? I don't know, like there's a whole community of indie developers that live stream game development, like especially over on Twitch. I'm sorry, but you don't know if you actually think that. I don't know if you're memeing or not. If you're memeing, okay, very funny, but you don't actually know what you're talking about if you think that that's true. And I'm sorry to, like, I don't mean to be rude by that. It's just, it's very clear to me that if you think someone can hack me from looking at this, you don't know how it works. I've had it happen to me before. Yeah, I don't think you have. I'm not sure what happened to you, but I don't think it was anything that happened from sharing or streaming game development. And even if that was the case, like, this isn't, like, who cares if you hack a single player game? Who gives a shit? Congrats. Who cares if you fucking hack the Minecraft server you and your friends play on? Like, someone's, scratched our game? What does that even mean? What kind of game are you making? I'm making an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite with procedural destructible terrain and AI generated quests. We think that was the reason, but we're not sure. I'm just trying to look out for you. Yeah, I can assure you, I've been a software engineer for 10 years. I've been writing code for longer. I can assure you that this code that we're looking at is gameplay logic. You can't hack a game from looking at, like, gameplay logic code like this. And even if you could, yeah, maybe there is some code in here that might give someone an idea as to how to, like, hack something. But, like, even if you could, if you're not making an MMO, it doesn't fucking matter. You know, if you're just making a local multiplayer game or a single player game, it doesn't matter if someone can hack your game. Like, and, like, really the only thing that you would be afraid to share should be, like, your server code, like your networking information, you know, ports, IPs, or whatever. Of course, why would you have a fucking IP in your code base at all? Like, that should all be environment variables. Anyway. Do you work for Blizzard? No, but my dad, I'm kidding, no. My dad's a trucker. Yeah, I don't think that was the reason, console ready. They pulled our IPv1. IPv1. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think that that's what happened. I don't think that that's what happened to you. Hey, IPv1. Like, you realize, like, things only use IPv4 or v6. Like, I don't know, everything that you're saying is leading me to not believe anything that you're saying. I'm sorry, man. I don't think you know what you're talking about. But I appreciate you trying to look out for me. I'm good, though. I'm not afraid to stream my game. You can, all of you can steal all the code you want to. Good luck. Good luck. Okay. What else can I do? That's a pretty small optimization. I mean, it's really just going to be inside the let's do new target, old target, ASC. We check for usages of the ability system here. No, we're basically all good there. I mean, we can rerun this and, like, maybe it will, we'll see if there's any kind of performance here. Then we had to open a ticket with the cyber police. Thank you, Jared. I don't know how else to explain without like being rude. And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as rude or arrogant or something. I'm sorry. Yeah, the cyber, if you file a report with the cyber police, they should be able to get your IP back and get your codes, your stolen code back. I feel it's so hard to discern. Like the trolls are so good nowadays. These are very like these is late stage internet trolls. Like it's so hard to determine, like, does someone just not know what they're talking about and could use some direction, or are they just a gigabrain troll and they're just fucking with me? Like, it's so hard to determine that sometimes. And this is one of those cases where it's like they're saying words that like in some context make sense, but like it doesn't make sense in the context they're saying. And it's like, it's so close that I'm just like, do I not know what I'm talking about? Or do they not know what they're talking about? Okay. Oh yeah, target processor isn't even running. So let's fucking add that. Target processor. All right. Let's watch the world burn here. It's spawning. We're spawning. Spawning. God, it's so slow while we're spawning. I would like to believe that people are trolling, but unfortunately I think most of them are sincere. Unfortunately. God damn, man, it's so much slower. The contention. How many are we at here? We are at 2,000. God, oh my God, it's so bad. The target processor is so bad. Okay, yeah, we just can't handle that. We can't handle that right now. Process entity locomotion. Skip? No, okay, we have to rebuild. We can go ahead and get that started. Okay, well, if you're being sincere, console, I don't know. I'm like 99.999% sure no one hacked you from streaming your code. Like, and if you think that, I'm going to assume that you have the level of understanding that would potentially lead you to other kinds of vulnerabilities that you probably don't understand. Like there was probably some other network vulnerability that you guys don't realize that you implemented or didn't implement, rather. So yeah, hopefully that helps you figure it out a little bit better. Okay, so the target processor, what have you changed? I just turned on the target processor, which is something I previously turned off. This would need a write lock, but I don't think we actually even ever get here. So I might need to re-implement an aggro table into entity data. The ability system data as well. If you were making an online game and you had IP info or password/keys embedded in your code and you were streaming that to the world, then yes, someone could absolutely hack you. Okay, yeah, that's a good. Jared makes a good point there. He speaks it much more eloquently than I did. Yeah, I guess I was just assuming, like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, don't store API keys in code. Don't store passwords or IP addresses in your code. Those are all supposed to be environment variables that are injected into your running application. So I just had that assumption that that was the case, but that you might not have done that. So yeah. Yeah, config files are environment variables. Yeah. Don't check them into Git either. Do not check them into Git. Thank you for the sub, my man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, most people just assume you would know not to do that. Yeah, I guess it's just, this is why I feel like I'm kind of a terrible teacher. Like, I make assumptions about, I don't seem to make the correct assumptions about what people may know or may not know. So I've never felt like I've been a good teacher or a good explainer of things. Okay, yeah, so changing something like this would be a pretty big refactor. Do I want to do this now? Or do I want to revert to my archetype method, my archetypal ECS? It's a tough decision. It's a tough decision because it's like kind of hard to compare without having the target processor running properly. While also it's like I don't want to make more changes on top of an architecture that I may not end up using. All of our IPs were connected and we did have everything embedded. We did have everything embedded. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, maybe I can take a peek at. Let's just undo this. Give me a clean roll back. Do I roll back or do I just commit this? We can roll that back. We can commit this. Like slight, super small changes. I'll just say turn on target processor. There we go. Just commit that. Let's get a clean slate here. And then let me go back to the archetype and direction map. I forget what code. Did I have any code in here that I needed in this shelf, or can I just revert back to the Git history? Where is entity subsystem? There we go. What do we have in here? This is the indirection table. So I think what I found is that like trying to lock from the target processor is in its current state unviable entirely, which is why it's kind of why I want to like work on the target processor so I can have a good comparison of a before and after. Okay, so it's just the locks that are in this one, so I can probably disregard everything in here, and then we can probably go back to like a git commit from remove archetype system and reinstate entity pools. I'm just snip snap, back and forth, aren't I? It's good comparisons though, and I'll probably make a video at some point. I'll have to fucking learn how to edit videos and shit, so that's gonna be a whole thing. But I'll make a video about what I learned from this process because I think it is important information or somewhat valuable information. I definitely didn't do everything correctly, but I did learn why you should do things correctly, so important to know that as well. Yeah, I guess let's just see how bad the rollback is going to be. Let's just show me the merge conflicts here. Show me the merge conflicts. How would I do this actually? If you do a video about it, I'd also be curious to learn the differences between your system and Mass and why Mass didn't fit your needs. I mean, the thing is, like, Mass has so much shit in it, I don't even know what the difference is. I know I've seen references to things in Mass, like I know they probably use an archetypal query, like just, I can tell like some things that they may do from just how it's used, but like, there's like a million fucking files within Mass. So it's like, I can't even do that kind of comparison with any confidence, really. But, I mean, my reasoning for not using it, I think, is totally viable, or not viable, but, like, valid. Like, it was really hard to work with. It was really confusing. Nothing that I needed it for worked out of the box, so I was gonna have to do everything myself. I didn't have flexibility using it. Like, I couldn't get anything to not block the game thread. I could run things parallel, or I could run things async, but they would need to finish before the frame finished. So, and it might be different now, because when I worked with Mass, it was in 5.1 or 5.2 or something, so it might be different now. Can't get off, well, clarification, it could get off the game thread. You can run it async, you can do parallel processing, but it blocked the game thread. Like, the game thread would wait for all of the other threads to complete. And that's probably for the, like, if I was making an ECS system for general use, like, I mean, you guys have seen over the past few streams, like, the locking issues that I've experienced. I've gotten them figured out. But, like, it really requires you to have a really strong understanding of multi-threaded programming. So it's like, yeah, if I'm making an ECS system for the Mass, no pun intended, then yeah, I'm not gonna let them shoot themselves in the foot, right? I'm not gonna give them that rope to hang themselves with, essentially. And yeah, I did not like how the traits and archetypes, or the traits and fragments were set up either. Like, I hit some like conflicts where it's like I couldn't add certain pieces of data, because it's like a fragment is like what I call a piece of entity data. It's just one piece of data. A trait is a combination of pieces of data that is needed for a specific processor. Traits and fragments create an archetype for an entity that like defines what your entity has on it. Now, there are certain traits that you cannot add together because there's like a circular dependency almost, or something. It's like trait A automatically brought in, you know, these different fragments. Trait B also needs the same fragments, but it tries to automatically bring them in, or it needs like a specific one. I don't remember really clearly, but I just remember it was really hard to create the archetype that I wanted. And yeah, that was probably just due to me not understanding and not using it correctly. But like, you know, you need better documentation if your system's going to be that complicated. Like, and it's probably better now. Back when I was using it, it was not. I mean, I guess is it still experimental, or is it in beta? I forget what status it is. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably fair game that they didn't have that much documentation, and it's experimental. But it's just like, I don't know. If you want your shit to be used, you need good documentation. Like, this is where open source is king, because like it's just so inherently required. Like, for any open source project to take off, it needs to be usable. If you want to make it usable, you need to write documentation, right? And Unreal Engine has not historically been very good at documentation, especially for C++ stuff. I wish there was more on that front. All their documentation seems to be very blueprint focused, which is, I get that. I get why you would start there. That's how most people probably use Unreal Engine. But for people like me, I would really like some C++ documentation such that I don't have to go digging through the source code to find things out, you know, taking hours and hours of time to like figure something out, you know. What's an ECS system? It stands for Entity Component System. It's just it's a data-driven architecture that takes advantage of like CPU cache locality. And there's a lot of different ways that you can like implement it. And so it can be pretty opinionated. multi-threading is one of those areas. And now I'm kind of learning, well, I'm kind of learning like why multi-threading isn't done more for ECS systems. Like it's like everything that I was seeing, even like, you know, I was using, full disclosure, I was using Gemini quite a bit to just talk about ECS systems. It was actually it was a good source of giving me things to look into, I'll say, for like inspiration and stuff. And it also gave me some variadic template, you know, meta programming code that I used, because that shit's kind of hard to write. Kind of uggo. There you go. This is a Gemini function right here. Good luck reading that. As you can tell by all the fucking comments. Gemini loves the fucking AI loves the fucking comment code, man. But yeah, I think I've learned why like multi-threading isn't prioritized more in an ECS system. It's because it's just there's so many issues, and the thread lock and the thread contention is like, it doesn't scale actually. And I was thinking that like, oh, I just have more resources, I have more threads, I can just dispatch things to background threads, and you know, me having an entire extra thread is going to be enough resources to make up for any of that. And I'm kind of learning that, you know, in some cases, no, it's not going to be, because I guess, and it really just depends on how you implement it, right? And from my journey, what I found is that having an option to do every way, like there's different ways you can have like different sync points within a frame. You know, you have maybe all your read processors, and then you do all your write processors, or it's like you can do parallel processing, where it's like you run one processor across and you saturate all your threads with that one processor, and that one processor doesn't iterate over, and that has to be like entity independent, right? Like it's different when you have a processor that iterates over entities where each entity needs to make a decision based on other entities. Like that's a special kind of processor. But if you have entity independent processors, you can just run those in parallel all day. And because they're never going to iterate on the same entity at the same time, there's no thread contention, because it's all going to be dispatched across several threads. And as long as you're not adding entity data and removing entity data in the middle of that, you can do that all day. Now, it's when you start adding and removing entity data, that's where it gets complicated, and you have to make a decision in your system. Is that something that my system does a lot? How much do I need to support that? You know, that's where you start to get into like your command buffer approach, and this is kind of like one of those sync points, right? You know, you do all your parallel processing, you come up with whatever reads or writes you need, or excuse me, whatever add or remove entity data you need to do, process those at the end of the frame when none of the processors are running, because when you add or remove entity data, that's when it becomes an issue for the processors. And what I wanted was full flexibility, and I have it. But it's fucking slow. It's actually slower than just using UObjects, which is an awesome discovery actually. So it's like, yeah, you can just use UObjects in an ECS system, and it's actually like, I mean, that's what I was using before I started this refactor about 2 weeks ago. So it's like, it's actually not that unviable. Like I thought I was kind of, you know, doing some black magic fuckery. Not black magic, but like I thought I was being stupid and naive by doing that. But I actually don't think it's that naive. Like it's actually like kind of like this meme. Hang on, bell curve meme. This was I thought I was here by using UObjects. And then a week ago, I was like, no, you can't use UObjects. You have to use structs and take full advantage of CPU processor. And then it's like, oh yeah, you can totally just use UObjects, and it's actually a fine approach. I've come out the other side as this guy in that regard. So that's if you go through that full cycle, that's how you know you're learning. And if you don't hate yourself at least a little bit on the inside, then I don't think you're doing it right. Just joined UObjects slower than, well, not inherently, like UObjects are not just like inherently slower, but the issue with UObjects in an ECS system is that UObjects are pointers. And when you have pointers within an ECS system, you're no longer using the ECS system for what it's meant for, which is CPU cache locality. So like when you're not taking advantage of cache locality, like you might as well just not, you know, do an ECS system, a full-fledged one at least. Mine really just used entities, components, and framework and systems. That's kind of like a framework as a structure. It didn't actually take advantage of the cache locality at all. And the reason is like when you have a pointer, that pointer is not in contiguous memory. Like if you have a struct of entity data, like that memory is within that struct. And when you put it into an array, that array is tightly contiguous and very tightly packed, right? And so when you iterate over that array, when your processor looks up a variable in that struct, it grabs a whole cache line when it goes to RAM. So it'll grab, I think, up to 64 bytes from what I've read. It'll grab up to 64 bytes of nearby memory, which, if you've written it correctly, will be the next entities that you're going to process. That's where it runs really fucking fast. That's what you're going for. And so when you use UObjects, your memory's all over the place. You know, it's basically like Windows 98 before you ran the disk defrag mode. Your data's all over the fucking place. And so it's like what that actually is really nice for is because if they're all UObjects and pointers, like the only thread contention you have is if two different threads write to the same variable at the same time, which none of mine did, right? I don't think any of my processors ever did that, so I had very little thread contention, and I needed very little locks. But when you do the structs, it's like anytime you touch the struct, any member on that struct, any variable on that struct, you need to lock that. So it's like you have an entire struct now of contention rather than just one member on one UObject. So it makes it harder to multi-thread. JS question mark. Oh god, that one never gets old. How big is this project? I don't know how to answer that. What metric are you looking for? Never tried ECS in Unreal? Yeah, Unreal has its built-in one, so I guess we're just kind of discussing why I didn't do that. What I've learned here, I'm kind of on the other end of it, and I think I'm ready to like make a decision. But I was gonna see, you know, how bad is reverting to the archetypal iteration, because that was my best raw iteration speed. And I'm thinking that like just doing parallel processing may be enough. And so let's look back at this. So I have 8 threads. I'm gonna say one of those is just gonna be taken up by target processor at all times. So I have 7 threads, down to 7. And so if I split up, you know, these ones ran very fast. I don't think those would ever need to run parallel processing. Even at 10K entities, I think those are perfectly fine. Actually, I've changed up representation processor. Well, that one needs to happen entirely on the game thread, though. Oof. Yeah, I still have that issue. Actually. That is like the one that needs to completely run on the game thread. Unreal structs are kind of weird. What do you mean? What do you mean by they're kind of weird? Just because you mean like the U struct part? What project is this? Please love your work. I mean, this is the same project I've always worked on. So I did have this written differently. So, yeah, game thread stuff. Entity representation processor is running on the game thread. And that's because it has to handle the switch between an instant static mesh and an actor. Even if it doesn't do the switch, it still has to setting actor location and then and updating the instance transform. Those are both things that have to happen on the game thread. Using JetBrains? Yeah, this is Rider, so it's for Unreal Engine and Unity. What's the name of the project? My project. CLI Gang Goo. What a name. What the hell, man? So I can do some pre-processing on this, and this is what I was doing before. Well, we'll switch to PC and half-assedly explain why my limited knowledge of the structure. We're digging the stream. Not too common to see someone with this knowledge in Unreal. Well, I don't feel that knowledgeable in Unreal, I'll be honest with you. Like, if Dr. Elliott ever pops in here, he's a guy who really understands the engine. I don't feel like I really understand it. I'm just trying things and seeing if it works and seeing what my experience is with it. And I typically, Odd Oculus, another game dev streamer, he says I like to pet the cat backwards, which is, you know, couldn't be more true about my personality. Like, I do kind of like to do things the wrong way because I want to, I want to push the limits to see, like, hey, are people actually right, you know? And B, I want to figure out why, you know, that's not the right way to do things. And I've done so here successfully. It might take me longer to do it, but me having that firsthand knowledge and not just, like, I just learned so much better by doing, which I think makes me take actually, like, longer to do something. So it just solidifies in my mind a lot better than if I just read something and took it for granted, or like took it, you know, took it for granted. Or just you know, I like, oh, yep, okay, I read that, you know, spinning, like, one thing I've read is that, like, dispatching things to different threads, like, there's an overhead to that. And that if you do it too much at face value, thank you, Jared. Goddamn, Jared is just like my fucking PR rep here. But I was reading, yeah, if you do too much multi-threading, like, there's actually an overhead to dispatching the threads and moving things to other threads. I haven't found that to be the case at all. Like, that seems like an overblown thing. Now, another thing I read was, like, locking mutexes, that there's an overhead to that because of thread contention. I hadn't seen that before, but now that I have a system that, like, requires me to do that for every read and write, I am now seeing it, and I can say, yeah, it doesn't scale. I think it starts faster, but then ends up slower. So I think it is what I found. Because I think for my performance comparisons, my 2K entities was faster, but my 10K entities was slower. This is a nice retrospective. Thank you all for being here. Having a brain stroke seeing this. Well, my dude, turn off the stream. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Yeah, so we could do, anyways, back to, like, actually looking at this and seeing what we can do. And thanks for the subs, guys. Welcome in, everyone. Happy you're here. Happy you're here. I can do some pre-processing for the entity representation processor. And I guess maybe I'll need a distinction between processors that can do parallel processing versus processors that need to run entirely on the game thread. And then I'll probably want to do my game thread ones at the end. Because like this game thread processor, even if I do some pre-processing async, that'll need to happen before this, so I think that's probably the flow that I would do. This is the only one that needs to do that, though. Well, actually, I have one more called it's the moving tag subsystem. For some fucking reason, you can't add and remove gameplay tags from outside the game thread, which I think is stupid because it's just a fucking map. That's all it is. So we're gonna rewrite that. we're gonna rewrite that. I'll probably make my own tag system, honestly. Still using gameplay tags, but just pop them into a piece of entity data. Probably rewrite the ability system component as well. Ugh, that's gonna be a whole fucking thing. But that'll actually probably be a really big performance boost for me. Especially for combat. That'll include the timer system as well. A good chunk of my game thread is taken up by timers executing gameplay effects. Domingo, hello. Hello to you. Let me see what switch to actor does here. It doesn't do a whole lot. We grab an actor from a pool. Oh yeah, we have to adjust based on the half height. I forgot about that, yeah. I mean, not a whole lot, honestly. Doesn't do a whole lot. Well, we have to handle the switch. This might be something that can happen in a... This might be something that can happen in a... I mean, this... What is it? Handle equipped. Well, detaching the weapon. Ugh. The attachments are going to be an issue. Enable or disable actor. Yeah, this is kind of a nasty function as well. Oh, God, yeah. This could be better. This could be better. Let's, I want to write some trace things here. Trace, CPU, profiler, event scope. Let's try that again. Let's get the right one this time. We'll see how much of the loop these actual functions take up here. What's this channel about? We're just doing some game dev. Just doing some game dev. Oh yeah, then the tick. Oh. Wait, do I still use that? I don't think I still use that. No, I don't. Okay, we don't use that. Never mind. It's mostly personal, but most of the times I had to choose between structs and versus UObjects. Most of the time I found it better to just use UObjects. Yeah, that's not so different from my experience. That has not been that much different from my experience. And because like another thing that I had read online is that like UObjects are heavier than structs. And it's like, yeah, they do take up a bit more memory, but it's like not really that much. Like a UObject, I think I read is like 56 bytes or something for a UObject versus a struct. And it's just like 56 bytes times fucking 1 million is 56 million. Don't know why I had to do that in a calculator, but so bytes, divide that by 1,000. So now we're at kilobytes divided by 1,000. 56 megabytes for 1 million UObjects. I mean, that's just not that much, right? So yeah, I think using UObjects, and that's what I was doing with my ECS system, because it was like I just found them much easier to work with. Struct pointers just feel weird to me on Unreal. Yeah, especially because you can't have struct pointers in blueprints. You have to use instanced structs. Even though it's all over gas. Yeah, internally in the C++, you know, it's... Yeah. What's going on here? What are you building? A video game. We're working in Unreal Engine. You do systems programming stuff. I feel like it's pretty generic. I'm not sure what you mean by systems programming. What is a critical section? Can you demonstrate? A critical selection, you mean? Like a mutex? A mutex is what allows you to read and write data from separate threads. So this is a critical selection. It's a mutex. That's what a mutex is, what it's typically called in other like programming languages and stuff. But critical selection is what Unreal Engine calls it. And so if you guys don't know about multi-threaded processing, like you can read from the same piece of data from any number of threads, but the second a write needs to happen to that piece of data, nothing else can be touching it. Nothing else can be touching it. And the way you synchronize that is with mutexes or critical selections, and you use those to lock the thread. So I use those interchangeably, lock and mutex. I just say, oh, grab the lock, get the lock the thread. I say things like that. But what I'm really saying is like, use the mutex or the critical selection to lock the thread to make sure that no other reads or writes are happening while I'm trying to write to it. And I wrote some of my own functionality for that, but like what that actually looks like. Read write lock, that's another one. You can do F critical selection. Oh, it is section. Why did I think it was selection? It is critical. I was wrong. Okay, ignore me. See, this is what I mean. I don't feel like I actually know what I'm talking about. So I always read them as critical selection. I guess I'm just a big dummy. But yeah, that's how you can do that. And so you can lock. What you would want to do is you would want to do like an F read scope lock or something if you're going to read from it, or an F write scope lock by using the mutex, or rather the critical selection. Pass it in there, and this wants a pointer, so make it a pointer, right? Wait, is that fine? Oh, that wants a read write lock, so you just want F scope lock, the regular one, right? What do you want? Oh, you don't. You want the ref. Okay. Right? Wait, what am I looking at here? Think object. Oh, because it needs to be mutable. Okay, here's another thing. If you're using it in const functions, you have to put mutable on it. Because this is a const function. Okay, it wants the point. Okay, it does want the pointer. So yeah, it wants the pointer. So you can see how easy they are to work with. How does this code tie to the graphical engine of Unreal? It doesn't. It doesn't. But with UObject, it's much larger than just the struct with data. The point of ECS is to utilize the cache line to make input-output operations faster, right? Yeah, well, you missed it. I was just talking about that trade-off and why actually using UObjects wasn't such a bad idea. I'll go over it quickly, but like when I started my ECS system, I just used pure UObjects because it was easier for multi-threading. Because my only thread contention was on individual UObject variables, individual members on the UObject, not the entire UObject itself. And so that actually, the thread contention for those, I didn't need to lock very much because I just never wrote to read and wrote to the same variable from very many different threads. So it was very easy to work with. And what I've just found out through performance testing, right now I'm using structs. Now I'm using the cache line and the cache locality. And this is 10K entities with UObjects. Velocity processor 112, 119 milliseconds. This is with entity data pools running, and everything is running on a background thread, and I am reading and read and write locking everything that I need to do. It's actually slower. And this is with per entity locks, per entity critical sections or mutexes. And so it is literally only locking on a per entity basis or when data is added or removed. So it's just not as performant when you're doing it that way. And so I'm sitting here debating, like, I should probably go back to my archetypal, because this is with entity pools as well, so the data doesn't move around very much. Because doing the archetypal approach while also trying to lock, there was so much contention happening because the data was moving around so much. So that was just completely unreasonable. But with a data pool, like, the data doesn't move around as much. So it's a lot easier to run it on background threads. But I found that, like, it just doesn't scale as well because of the thread contention. Because the thread contention is now for the entire struct versus just one member on the UObject, right? Yeah, you're not wrong, but you're not wrong, Bacon Dev. But there are more things to consider. There are more things to consider than just that. Just stick with what works on your game. Yeah, and that's kind of why, like, I started with the UObjects. I'm like, just give me something easy to work with, so that I know what my game needs. Because I didn't know what I would need, right? I didn't know what I would need. I do think I want to stick with the structs. Like some of these processors got insanely fucking fast. So going back to this is UObject table. All right, let me write that. I'll say UObjects. Can't even fucking spell UObjects. So something like, even just looking at these, like LOD representation, chunk processor, well, ignore representation. LOD processor took an average, this is for 2,000 entities, we'll go with median, 4.2 median on the LOD processor. My fastest raw iteration was using archetypes. LOD was 0.4, right? And the representation got down to 0.05. And it was 3.2 before, right? Like that's the raw iteration speed was crazy. It went so fucking hard. So it's like, yeah, I do think I still want to use structs for these things. And I need to write more things into structs, more of my data. I've been wanting to rewrite gas because even in this system, I could only get about 200 entities in combat at a time before it dropped to like 20 FPS. And it was basically because of a post-gameplay effect execute took like 100 microseconds, which like times 200, like that's a lot, right? Happening, you know, maybe there were only like 100 happening per frame, but yeah. Recently started learning C++, and damn, it's not easy. You'll get the hang of it. You'll get the hang of it. It's quite a verbose language, right? It's pretty picky about what it wants. Pretty picky. But once you get through that, it's not so bad. And Unreal Engine, I find Unreal Engine C++ a bit more approachable. Maybe I'm biased there. Anyways, I'm kind of procrastinating on making a decision on what I want to do. I wanted to see like how bad... Wait, what did I do here? Oh yeah, I wanted to put those little Tracy boys on there. Pick doesn't happen anymore, just collapse that. And I need one just for the loop itself. Okay, we have one on the loop, okay. Let's just commit that real quick to get it clean. To representation processor. So yeah, this is the stuff that has to happen like on the game thread, synchronously on the game thread. I guess it would be nice. I was thinking about a world where it's like my game thread only runs the game thread only things, and then all my other threads are parallel processing individual processors. But then it's like the data needed by the representation processor could be up to a frame behind, right? Which I've already, when I was doing multi-threading before, I was already accepting that things can be a frame behind. I'm totally okay with that. Totally okay with that. So maybe we can do something like that. It's a bit more complicated, but potentially can reduce the game thread time, which is like, you know, bottleneck for anything. Yeah, let's go ahead and Is it a commercial game or is it my own project? Is it just hobby stuff? Raw dogging C++ and having to deal with make files and linker errors sucks. Yeah, that part of C++ I've not dove into too much. I have, you know, done a few C++ plugins, like the fast noise plugin was probably my first foray into that, which is a great fucking plugin, by the way. So yeah, how do I like... I don't want to revert here. Cherry pick. Is that what I want to do? Can I get a better UI for this, please? What's this specific code doing? Oh, a lot. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, I haven't used this Git UI before. All right, let's look how bad it's gonna be. Look at the sea of conflicts. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. Oh, do I want to do this right now? do I want to part the Red Sea, so to speak? And which one is, this is, okay, local left. Local is left, okay. I guess the biggest part of this, because I could just take everything from, I don't know that there's anything I want to save from the left. I think I can just completely accept the right. But the biggest issue is going to be changing all of my, excuse me, changing all of my processors back. That's always going to be the big change. I like studying programming, but I don't know where to start. If I want to become like you, where should I begin and what steps should I follow? There's no specific answer to that for each person. Like, you shouldn't want to be like me. You should want to just be a better version of yourself, right? So you should figure out how best you learn. Do you learn best from tutorials or courses? I don't, but if that's how you learn best, you should continue to do that. I learn best by doing things. I learn best by having my own projects that I'm motivated to work on and figuring it out myself. As I was saying before, oftentimes that takes me longer, but I get a better understanding of it, right? I don't really follow tutorials or courses at all. You know, maybe I might look into them if they answer a question that I have, right? But then I stop as soon as I know the answer to that question, right? So if you don't know how best that you learn, you should figure that out. And you should try a bunch of different things. But just keep going. That's all you really need to do, is keep going. Keep working on stuff. Build things. Build things that you're interested in. Figure out how to ask the right question. But let me look at how bad one of the processors would be. Show me, yeah, move to... I don't even know if I would want to... I would probably just have to manually... I would probably just have to manually do these. Yeah, there's just been... Well, the right scope stuff, I'd have to delete that too. Ugh. I don't know which would be easier. Like, do I merge conflict all this shit? Or do I just manually do I just manually change? I think probably just manually changing it would be better, because there's more changes than just the query pool, like types changing. I also changed the logic a little bit. Like, see, this is no longer gotten. It's like passed in. I don't know. That's probably not going to be that interesting of content to watch. It's just going to be me like copy and pasting things. And I'd have to go through and like, I guess I would accept mine on everything that isn't these three. Yeah, the rest are just processors. And where did my the archetype utils? I need that back. Can I reinstate you? Reverts. Oh, I can just hand revert. Okay, I might just do that then. You've earned a subscriber. Well, thank you. Appreciate your sub. Are you looking at source code, my guy? What are you even doing? I'm I'm looking at my source code I've written, and I've just tried a bunch of different approaches, and I think I'm going to go back to a certain approach. So I'm looking through my Git history and figuring out how I want to go about it. Just a general idea of what the code you're touching does. I mean, this is an entire like ECS system. I mean, it does a lot. There's no short answer to that other than it's an ECS system. Can't wait for the day I'd make my own game and publish it. What's stopping you? Entity system utils. Yeah, we'll need to delete that. Okay, let's go ahead and let's just revert that. Patch successfully applied. Changes. Okay, we got those. For these, except is shit. I hate the fucking terminology here. Theirs is the patch version. Yours is local, right? I'm pretty sure that that's what that means. I think I was incorrect. I think I picked the wrong one. Did I? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I picked the right one. Why are the stripe blocks in here still? Okay, and then all these except yours. Okay. Conflicts are always fun. I just hate the terminology. Like I always have to second guess myself. I always have to second guess myself. I did, that's sad. I kind of want that back. Well, I guess I still have that code. Okay, no, yeah, we're fine. Cherry picking. Abort. How do I, like, say we're done? What is this fucking UI? Git, help me. Update project? Okay, I want to be finished with the cherry picking. Do I just commit it? Like, batch. Not used to using this Git UI. Anyways, delete the locks. Yeah, we're just gonna have to go through. I guess we're doing it. I guess we're doing the thing. Delete the lock. Delete the lock. We're in it. We are in it. Okay. Where else is broken? Probably just every processor. Every single one. I really thought multi-threading was going to work out a lot better. And I guess we're just going to need to make some really special considerations for my purely async processors with caching information. I have question. Okay, well, I have a very sarcastic answer for you. It's funny, I had a commit message that was like, delete archetypes and reinstate data pools, and now I'm gonna have a commit message that says delete data pools and reinstate archetypes. What was wrong with the multi-threading? The locking, the mutexes didn't scale. It was actually worse than just using UObjects and not even worrying about an ECS system at all. So we learned. Why? How is this one actually fine? Wait, when did that? Oh, did I already do that one? Okay. Okay. Locking too much? Yeah, and I was doing like a per entity lock, you know? And it was still too much. It was still too much. How is this resolving? The for each should be completely different now. I even made this really fancy right scope lock that I felt was really slick, and it did work. Like it was stable. But yeah, it was running faster at 2K entities, but at 10K entities, it was actually running slower. Okay, that part wasn't too bad. That part wasn't too bad. If you lock for most entity processing, it's just single threading with extra steps. No, it was more sophisticated than that. We were doing a per entity lock. So it was multi-thread, but I think there was just the overhead of grabbing the locks, upgrading from a read lock to a write lock, and then releasing the locks, I think is where a lot of it came from. Like I wasn't just like locking the entire pool or the entire system. It was a really fine-grained lock. It was a really fine-grained lock that was happening. I was doing a striped locking approach, where I had like basically a pool of locks for all of my entities, and I hashed the entity ID to grab and modulate it to grab like a lock with very low contention in comparison to doing like a per pool lock or a per system lock. So even with the fine-grained locks, it was it wasn't like bad, it was just basically the same. Answer me. No, actually, you're not getting an answer now because you said that. And I don't know anything about your Arduinos, man. Like I can't help you. Like that's a question that Google can probably answer very easily and very quickly. Like you're gonna get a much better answer and a much quicker answer by typing what you typed into this chat into Google. So if you're trying to learn things, you should go to Google first. Okay, but now I need to go through and change like the data for everything. Wait, and get entity data pointer is still here? So it kept some of the old... It kept some of the old code too. I just wanted to replace the entire thing actually. But I mean, I guess it's resolving, which is kind of nice. Now, I guarantee you this doesn't compile because the for each has changed, right? We don't have the multiple for eaches, at least I hope not. No, we actually, well, yeah, no, we still have the old stuff. Okay, so hang on. I did that cherry pick slightly wrong then. I did that. I wanted to accept all of theirs, but it seems like it didn't, and it did the merge. Give me... Can we? Wait, what? I grabbed the wrong side. I probably grabbed the wrong one. There we go. That looks better. Yeah, now it's all broken. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. Just do the old-fashioned way with the copy pasta. Wait, I grabbed the wrong one. God damn it. No, cancel. Get. Entity subsystem base. Oh my god. This looks horrid. I'm so sorry. Give me that. Put it over there. Okay. Sounds like ECS is more a video game design pattern. Yeah, yeah. Are you building a library? No. I'm building it for my game. Composition over inheritance. Yeah, yeah, that's typically the whole principle is like cache locality. And I do need to work on my composition. It's not perfect. I should probably delete entity system utils. Yeah, we should delete that guy. And then my entity subsystem base, that one needs to go back over as well. But I think I can just probably, here, we'll just do it this way. Rather than like finding the right fucking file and shit. Okay, that can be deleted. Okay, so all my processors hopefully should be broken because yeah, those don't exist anymore. And so we want the what did I call them in this version? T component array. So I think we can probably just go and do this. Okay. And then get entity data pointer. Boy, if I was good at regex, I would go so hard right now with these replaces, but I'm not, so I feel like I would just screw things up more. And let me just compare to an old one. What were we doing? We were just using an accessor. Okay. Okay, so anywhere that we do that, we are now going to change to I. I think. Yes, okay. Anywhere that we have entity data pointer. Ooh, this is gonna, not everywhere can do this actually. There's only like 3 people good at regex. That's probably true. That's probably true. Sure, we'll replace it in these ones. Why not? The other problem with this system is optional data is like kind of a bottleneck with the archetypal system. One's fine, that one's fine. Yeah, optional data, you kind of just have to do an ad hoc get for it, which kind of ruins the like tightly packed. These should all be changed. Just change all of these. Got all the pointers I'm gonna have to change. Wait. I don't know if that last one was okay. I might have messed that one up. Not that one, not that one, not that one. None of these. Okay, now everything is broken. Can I just do data point, anything that says data pointer to data dot? I think that's a safe bet. At least for these files. Yeah, I did mess up there. Actually, everything that's not these ones. So go back up to the start, well, one by one here. Okay. We need to do that with every processor. What is an ECS system? It is a data-driven architecture used for very efficiently running thousands and thousands and thousands of NPCs. And it is based off the principles of CPU cache locality. That is part of how it runs so efficiently. And I am refactoring everything for the millionth time. I don't want that view. You can just be manually fixed. Okay, you're fine. ISM processor is not fine. Okay. Get rid of these. Yeah, this isn't going to be too bad, actually. It's not going to be too bad. We're almost there. Okay, move to processor. You're next. Go to the beginning. Go to the beginning. Do one. Okay, yeah. Go, 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 go. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Okay, hang on. I got kind of lost in the flow there. Yeah, see, that one's not supposed to be like that. Get new rotation. You're all pointers. What is an E? Jesus Christ, guys. You're gonna make me answer the same question a million times. Rewind the stream. Rewind the stream. Okay, all of these need to change to a ref. And unto you. And this one as well. Had to, yeah. Yeah, I knew that one was a meme. I sniffed that one out. I sniffed that one out. Move to data. Okay. Do 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 do. Dereference those pointers. Yay. Okay. If movement data. Yeah, I mean, those are all... I guess we're just like, those are going to be required now, so... Delete all that shit. It's me. Hi, me. I'm Dad. Sorry, I had to. Are we good now? No, we're not. What are we doing today? We're changing it all back. We are changing all of it back. Okay, that one wasn't too bad. Velocity processor now. Okay, data. Change that. Okay. Okay. That one was not supposed to be that way. I don't think so. Oh, wrong one. Oh no, I have no way to cancel sound bites. Oh. I did the wrong soundbite. Velocity data. Okay, that's all pointers. Okay, I guess, yeah, sure, we can make a pointer. Why not? Bounds data. Okay, that is a pointer as well as the state tree. Okay. Okay. Are we good? No. Yes, yes we are. Okay, let's just compile and see where it hurts. Okay, show me where I hurt you, compiler. What motivates you to code? I just like building things. Building things is fun. Coding for what? I don't understand nothing. For a game? Roblox? Minecraft? I like how that's like... I love that's how that's the hierarchy of what you can write code for. You're either making a game, or it's a Roblox or Minecraft mod. Modding? I'm dumb. Good morning, by the way. You're not dumb. It's okay. Just memeing a little bit. I kind of hate that, like, Minecraft and they're just such kid games. And I was literally playing Minecraft with my girlfriend last night. So, like, I can't hate too much. I'm making my own game. It's an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite with procedural destructible terrain, AI generated quests. I'm writing my own ECS system right now, which is a system that can very efficiently run thousands and thousands and thousands of entities, because I want to run the whole world. To make the world feel alive, and I don't want to fake it. Wow, we compiled. Holy shit. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Actually went a lot faster than I was expecting. I still need to change things, though, because all that's happening async, and we can't do that. We cannot do that anymore. So that's actually... I can't actually even run this. Target processor, you're dead to me for the moment. What's your view on... Oh, Jesus, spare me. What's your view on Roblox game / Roblox game development? It's just not what I would want to do. I would not want to just make a game inside of another game. Like, if I'm going to make something, I want it to be my own, you know? And I don't want to be either constrained by it being inside of another game, or... like, dependent on that game for, like, support and success and stuff like that, you know? Like, not that I would make it, like, not that I need success to make a game, but, like, if I'm just making a game for, or just doing something for the fun of it, like, I'd probably just make a mod in a game that I actually play, which is not Roblox. I would probably just mod games that I play. Like, I would probably just mod RimWorld if I wanted to do that. If there was something that fit the bill. But I kind of want to do my own thing. And Roblox, there's a lot of predatory shit on Roblox, I'll be honest. Okay, so let's go through. We need to go through our processors and put all of them back on the main thread. which means that we need to do this. Yeah, this one ran every frame anyway, so that one's fine. State tree, yeah. You all just need to go back to the game thread. You're kind of gone. It's kind of nice. I don't have as many processors now, so that's kind of nice. You were always on the game thread. You're good. You're not a processor. I need to move you. Okay, so I think that's good, question mark. Let's rebuild now. Oh, okay, got it. So if I ever want to make a game based on art/drawing, I should make it in some other engine or tool. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just telling you what I want, which is doesn't seem to have any relation to what you just said. So I'm not sure if you got the point or not. Forget the gross content in Roblox, lol. You can make a good experience for anyone who can enjoy, I don't know what that is, something. Yeah, that. Roblox doesn't exactly have a great reputation. I guess let's just fucking run it. So this is everything on the game thread. So the FPS is going to be worse. Yeah, so now we're down to like 20 FPS. Do you optimize code or is it too much work? My dude, you're seeing me optimizing code right now. That is what you're witnessing. Okay, we're just gonna let this trace. I'm tracing right now, so we're profiling. So I'm just collecting data here. I'm just gonna let this run for a little bit. It's probably good, so let's stop, drop. We can settle down and open up shop. That's how Rough Riders roll, if you didn't know. The youngsters in the crowd may not know. Okay, so grab this section. Okay, now let's compare. Compare to this 2K entity. So velocity processor, 18 milliseconds now. 18 median. So we dropped 10 milliseconds there from changing to archetypes. The archetype to data pool, 10 milliseconds on velocity processor. Move to processor down to 10.8. So we dropped about 5 milliseconds on the move to processor. State tree processor down to 9.2 from 12, so we dropped about 3 there. Representation processor down to 4.6 from 5.1, so not a huge gain there, but a little bit. Those actors are like NPCs or just brainless actors? They're full-fledged NPCs. They're not actors. They're vertex animated instance static meshes, and they all have full state trees running. They all have full state trees ticking and running. Well, ticking when they need to. And they're doing pathfinding, and they have ability system components on them. Yeah, it's the full. Those are all full-fledged NPCs. Sim processor 2.1. Down from 6.3, so about 4 millisecond improvement there. LOD down to 1.9. Or no, 0.19 from 1.9. So yeah, the archetypal iteration is so much faster. So much faster. And the chunk processor is pretty negligible, 0.17 down to 0.11. So across the board, performance improvements on everything except for like representation processor was the only one that didn't receive any benefits, but everything else did. But everything else, it's running all on the game thread now. And I think the only thing that actually explicitly needs to run on the game thread is the representation processor. And I can probably, I don't know if I should be doing the pre-processing or not on that, but that's going to be my biggest bottleneck now. The rest of it can be parallel processed. So I can run it on background threads, but it does need to happen in a synchronized fashion. So in this code, you're trying to figure out if the system should be multi-threaded or async, like if the system's processing the component on each update should be threaded or not. I mean, I've kind of figured out what I want to do. The trade-offs I was considering was, well, what I wanted in my head was like, I want to be able to I want maximum flexibility. I want to freely be able to kick things off to background threads and have them not block the game thread or not need to be synchronized with the system at all. To specific sync points. And I achieved that, but the locking that was necessary to prevent the multi-threaded like thread locks and stuff like that, it just added overhead that was actually worse. It wasn't worth it right at that point. So now what I'm doing is I went back to an archetypal iteration approach rather than an entity data pool approach, which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with multi-threading. It's just it's easier to multi-thread when you have entity data pools and data that doesn't move around a lot. With this archetypal system, it moves data, all this entity data around a lot. Anytime data gets added or removed from an entity, it'll change what archetype the entity belongs to. But now your processors just directly take in that archetype and they iterate really fast. Because of that, because they don't need to like go look up data in the pools and potentially check if they do a lot of checking for like if an entity exists in a certain piece of data. So with that gone, we get some processing improvements. But now that means it's harder to do purely multi-threaded, non-game thread blocking things. It makes it harder to do that because adding and removing entity data now requires the system to not be touching that data whenever it moves. So that makes it difficult. But what I can do is I can do parallel processing, which there's a function in Unreal called parallel 4, which is really nice. If I can fucking spell it, there we go, parallel 4. There's a bunch of different kinds of them, but essentially that'll take in, some number. So it'd be like entities dot num, writing some pseudocode here, num, give it a lambda, and then this will be like, what kind of lambda does it take? I forget. It takes in an index, right? So in 32 index. So you'd be like, that, and then this is where you would get your data and stuff. And so I would have the pools pass to that, of course, or not the pools, the archetypes pass to that. So what this does is this function, it's a blocking function. So like if I wrote code here, this code will not get reached until all of this is done processing, which is really nice. Most async functions don't do that, right? Like if you did an async task, the async task just dispatches to another thread and then runs this code right after it. So it's really nice how that works. The parallel 4 works that way. And then it'll also saturate all of your threads. Whereas async task will just put it on one thread. So running all the entities on one thread versus running all the entities on as many threads as we can. Not all, but like subsets of the entities on the threads that we can. So this is a lot more efficient use of resources. The reason I'm not doing this yet is because I wanted it makes it a little bit harder to compare the performance on a processor to processor basis. And so this is kind of like going to be my last step here. But the reason I can do this with archetypes is that we're not going to be iterating over, we're not going to be performing operations on the same entity on different threads, right? Because it's dispatching the entities across threads now. And so not only is it going to use my threaded resources, there's some overhead to it, but it's going to be using the threaded resources a lot more efficiently without any need of locking, right? So that's going to be the last step here. And I can parallel process pretty much all of these, except for representation processor, because the things that the representation processor is doing have to happen on the game thread, which is basically just moving things on screen, thanks to Unreal Engine. Just knows you're streaming 2 times, one for YouTube Shorts and the other full screen. Yep, we got a vertical and horizontal stream on YouTube. You still wanting to go forward with gas? Oh no, I haven't been wanting to do that for quite some time. Scaling past 200 entities was bad in the past. Yeah, 200 in combat was bad. Yep. So yeah, definitely rewriting that. I mean, that's the purpose of async, right? Which part? Are you one of those vibe coders? My dude, you have not seen me use AI once in this stream. I have been coding. I've been doing some refactoring. So yeah, I think this is committable. We should commit this. So you parallel process entities but blocks on the game thread. Yeah, so it won't continue. It'll actually use the game thread as one of the threads to process on. But yeah, basically. It will block the game thread. Now you can make it not block the game thread, but that would cause thread locking issues. Like basically I can't add or remove data without making sure the system is in sync in some way. And so if I ran it completely not blocking the game thread, we would get to the next frame potentially, the game thread would start doing adds and removes, an old thread would still be running, potentially on an entity that is getting edited. So I'm using mass as a similar mechanism. You can specify either behavior. Yeah. Can't be purely parallel. Yeah, well, it can. I did just have that. I did, like, the beginning of the stream was it running purely asynchronously, non-blocking the threads and stuff. And I had dependencies between entities and everything. So I did get that working. And I found out it wasn't worth it, really, is what it seems. So yeah, I just did a whole, like, if you go back in the video, you know, my VODs are on YouTube and stuff, but like if you go back to earlier in the stream, I just did like a whole retrospective on, like, I talked about mass versus what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why I'm not using mass, what I've learned, you know, what the trade-offs are, that kind of thing. And I actually learned just using UObjects is actually not the worst idea, which is what I was originally using. Like, I wasn't even using structs for my entity data. They were all just UObjects, which actually was like kind of bell curve meme worthy. Not having to sync between frames is low-key wild. It's not that wild. I mean, you can do it, like, especially if your processors are completely independent, it's not that crazy. If you're doing data pools and your processors are completely independent, it's totally fine. Yeah. But the problem is when I wanted full flexibility. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I fucking want. And it's like, okay, you can, but your performance is going to be worse than if you just used UObjects. Yeah, the TLDR is that 2K entities ran better. Whenever I had everything running async that could. The per processor, like, I was just comparing how long it takes each processor to run. At 2K, it was better than just using UObjects. At 10K, it was worse. And that was because I was doing striped locking, per entity striped locking. And I wrote like an upgradable, I wrote my own custom locking function. Like, I wrote this right scope upgrade function. Like, this is my own home. I just came up with this, and it actually fucking worked. Because it's like every processor would need to hold a read lock for whatever entity it was iterating over. So each entity had a mutex. And then if I needed to write to data, I would need to pass it in as a callback to this function. Unlock the read lock, write lock it, run the function, you know, do the edit, the data edit or whatever. unlock the write, go back to a read lock, and it worked. But this was overhead. This was overhead. ECS as an entity component system, not elastic container service, right? Or something like that, or whatever it is. Are you working in corporate or freelancing? I don't work in game dev. I'm a software engineer. I do work at a company. But yeah, you can do an ECS system without synchronization, with full flexibility. But that flexibility comes at a cost. And for my processors, I mean, there's probably some processors you can write where it's actually beneficial. But for what I was writing, it was not. Okay, let's jot these down. I don't want to do 10K because it's all running on the game thread right now. So that's just going to be back to archetype. Our archetypal queries on game thread. So we got to jot some stuff down here. Velocity processor. 528 times max, 24.5, and then 18. Target didn't run, move to processor. We ran 527 times, max milliseconds, 16.4. Average 10.9, median 10.8. State tree ran 528 times. Yeah, these are all going to run about the same amount of times. 14.3, 9.3, 9.2. ISM, there we go. It ran 528 times. 3.7, 2.2, 2.1. Attachment no longer runs. LOD ran 527 times. Maximum 0.7. Average 0.2. Median 0. I'll say 19. Representation ran 528 times. 6.6. 4.8, 4.6. Last but not least, chunk processor, 527 times. 0.229, 0.12, 0.11. So that's good. So that is good. Okay. So we have those. We have that performance. So now, I guess, let's commit this. Delete entity data pools and async processing, reinstate archetype. Let's put reinstate archetype up front. Reinstate archetypal, or archetype ECS, delete entity data pools, and async processing. Yeah. Commit anyway and push. I'm surprised that actually went a lot fucking faster than I thought it was going to be to make that change. I got baited into being a cloud automation engineer 3 years ago. How do you get baited into that? What do they like offer you Skittles or something? Watching this low-level analysis is going to make me put those 2 weeks in. I mean, you don't have to do that. I still do mundane shit at my job, too. This is just free time stuff. Just do it in your free time. Money? Yeah, well, same here. Yeah, gotta pay the bills. A girl's gotta eat, am I right? Okay, we're at a pretty good stopping place. And, I mean, I could stream for a little bit longer. I don't know what I want to do here. What do I do? Should I bite the bullet and do the parallel processing now? The thing is, like, it's gonna be hard to do performance comparisons if I do that and then I make more changes after that. Listen to the part about thread contention. Yeah, I figured that would be the issue. Similar issue with Python, where running single thread is sometimes faster because the global lock that introduces thread contention. Oh, that uses a global lock? Yeah, I'm not so just to be clear, I was not using global locks. I was using a per entity lock. And so even with a very, very fine-grained lock, like I was not locking things that did not need to be locked. It was still not as performant. And I was only read locking or write locking precisely when I needed to, as all wizards do. As all wizards do. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm just to say, it's kind of hard to switch over because there is some overhead with the parallel processing to calculate the threads that it needs to run on. So even if I tallied up all the time, it still would not be a direct performance comparison, which is why I don't want to do it too soon. Like I want to get my system into an ironclad state, or like not my system, my gameplay logic into an ironclad state. True, I guess it's sort of an experiment to see what happens. Yeah, exactly. And I was talking about like how I learn better by seeing things for myself because it solidifies in my mind better. And I don't like just taking things at face value so much. Because like a lot of the things I've heard, like one that I've heard that I haven't found to come true is that like there's like the boogeyman is like, oh, there's so many resources taken up by just putting something onto a separate thread. And in my experience, it's not that much overhead to split off a new thread. Like that one I've not found to be true at all. But I did find out that locking doesn't scale very well. I guess there's a range. What I found, there is a range where it does work better. For me, that was 2,000 entities. 10,000, it was worse. So multi-threading is tough. I tried to go and panic. I was panicking so many times. I don't really get what data you were locking, LOL. Like entities have their own data. They just update it. It's sort of naturally parallel. You only need to lock when entities write into the exact same slot. So it's the data is stored in arrays, right? They're stored in contiguous arrays to take advantage of the iteration speed. When that array changes in size, that's when it needs to be locked, right? So either when you're doing, and when things are running purely parallel, either when that array changes or when a piece of data for an entity changes, right? Those are the two scenarios. So when entity data is added or removed and the array reaches its max size of pre-allocated data, the array needs to reallocate itself. And so any entity in that array needs to stop what it's doing because the array needs to reallocate itself. Now, maybe at that point, just using a map rather than doing an array of structs, do a struct of arrays or something, you know, or did I say that backwards? I might have said that backwards. So maybe at that point, just using a map for entity data would have been better. But that's essentially what the system was that I was doing before. I was just using UObjects, right? So it is specifically that array that the data is stored in needing to reallocate, or when two processors are reading/writing to the same piece of the same component, right? The same C in the ECS system. Some people swear by arenas where you pre-allocate a lot of memory, so you rarely reallocate. Yeah, and I thought about, because I did like kind of realize that a little bit. I was like, okay, if it's only specifically when the array reallocates, like I could just lock around that event happening, right? I could pre-allocate a bunch, you know, when we reach that threshold, just lock for that one reallocation. To be clear, if entity 0 reads writes to array 0 and entity 1 reads writes from array 1, there's no lock required. Correct. I was doing a per entity lock for that event. Resize maybe. Resize definitely. If the array resizes, both of those entities need to stop what they're doing. So I had two different locks that were happening. One lock was like a system-wide lock, or rather a pool. It was a pool-wide lock for that specific data pool, for that specific piece of entity, that is the specific entity data array. I would lock the entire array when it needed to change. But the processors only had a per entity lock on them. That way, other processors could potentially be iterating over the same array. Hello, just doom scrolling live streams. What is this? We're doing some game dev today. I guess we're just like kind of getting towards the end of the stream here, but we're just chatting about performance trade-offs in an ECS system, specifically in regards to multi-threading and locking and data thread contention, stuff like that. So pretty low-level stuff. Here's what I got so far. Well, I just reverted basically a change. So like the actual FPS is lower, but my processor performance is higher. But we'll be doing I'll be changing to parallel processing at some point. That'll make it quite a bit better. Yeah, so this is 2,000 entities all on screen, full-fledged AI, pathfinding. They have attachments, vertex animated instant static meshes, all the good stuff. All that good stuff. Yeah, attachments are gonna scale pretty poorly as well. Attachments are I'm gonna need a pretty fucking... I guess that's what I'm most afraid of. Because, like, I'm gonna have gear and stuff. That's gonna be hard to... I'm wondering how the Kingmakers... That's nice with the 2,000 entities. I mean, with the... Ned, with the system that I was just talking about, the purely multi-threaded system with the locks and everything, 2K entities ran at 60 FPS. Give me one moment. So yeah, what I was trying to say is I was doing better at 2K entities in terms of frame rate because everything was on the background thread. Starting my first year in college for a computer science course. Any tips? No, because I dropped out of college. And I'm impressed if you wrote your own ECS. I would want to as well, but it's a trade-off of time and I prefer focusing on other areas. Yeah, you mentioned you were using mass, right? I forget who said that. I think that was you. Yeah, that was you. I see it. And yeah, I mean, I tried to use... I mean, it kind of depends, I think, what you need for your ECS. Like, if you have any overlap of, like, what mass provides out of the box... Because, like, when I used it, all they had... It was basically just for crowds and traffic. Because, like, the only thing you could use is, like, zone graphs, which are, like, pre-built navigation, right? And so I had to write my own like mass navigation, like nav mesh pathfinding and stuff. And I did get it working, but it was just like everything was such a pain in the ass to do. And so at that point I'm like, dude, I just need to write my own. Like this can't be that complicated. And it's like at face value, I don't think it is that complicated. Like just writing an entity component system that doesn't do anything special is actually probably quite simple. Like it's when you make all these decisions between like multi-threading and archetypes versus data pools versus, sync points. You can do per frame caching for background thread processes, and then you can do command, but it's like when you get all into all that stuff, it gets complicated. But like, I think just at a base level, it's not too bad. An AP, you are correct in what you're saying. For anyone wondering, an archetype is just a group of entities that have similar attributes. That way each subsystem only processes what it needs. Yeah, so the difference between the data pools and the archetypal iteration is that, like, the data pools, you have to check if an entity has a specific piece of data. The archetypes manage that just by nature of how it's stored when entity data is added or removed. It'll shift the entities around to the different archetypes that it belongs to. And that's where the iteration speed comes from. That's where some of the, I mean, you get really good iteration speed with just using a simple data pool approach, which is not that, you know, you can write your own ECS with that, not too bad, you know. I want to do large space battles plus fully rendered planets. I'm only using the bare bones, basically entities and processors using their simulations. In Pathfinding, I will probably eschew not using. Because I know, I don't know what version of the engine you're on, but I think in 5.6 they released an experimental mass nav mesh processor. I think that's built in now. I might be mistaken. But if you're doing space battles, you're not going to be able to use the Unreal Engine nav mesh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the 3D navigation's got to be pretty rough for that. Thankfully, I've not needed to completely rewrite navigation. I'm using the built-in Unreal Engine navigation, which is nice. God, look at this archetype that's required. That's just nuts. Should I jot down some notes about what I learned today before it just evaporates out of my brain? Things to do next. Rewrite gas. There it is. There it is. Okay, I said, or just do the entity data pool approach. This makes entity data more stable, requiring less locking logic and has less thread contention. Using per entity fine-grained locks plus a pool-wide lock for adding and removing entity data. This performed better than just pure UObjects at 2K entities. I'll say it was about 60 FPS. Got 2K entities with everything running on unblocking background threads that could 60 FPS at 2K, which is pretty good. That's not bad. It's like if you're only aiming for 2K entities max, like that's like really good. And that's like worst case scenario too, because that was like 2K entities all on screen. Rewrite gas. I'm actually very interested to see what you end up doing there. In my head, the system I have is like, I still very much like I like gameplay tags. I've actually already overridden a good amount of it. Like, the gas seems to have a fetish for gameplay tags, and I like gameplay tags, but not that much, you know what I mean? Just give me a side of gameplay tags and I'm happy with my meal. But it's like they want a gameplay tag for each ability's fucking cooldown. And I'm like, bro, I just need a number. I just need to put a fucking number in there. Like, don't make me go create a whole ass gameplay tag. And same for like the VFX. It wants a gameplay tag for each visual effect that could possibly fucking happen. Which, by the way, all of those VFX with the base system just get loaded into memory up front. So that's kind of bad anyways, but... So I overrode the cooldowns and some other things to like not require gameplay tags, such that I can just give it a curve table for like the cooldown. You know, very, very much like how some of the other, like I built in range and a min and max damage, so I already overrode a good amount of it. But what I have in my head for how this will look in the future is that I still like the actual gameplay ability class and the gameplay effect class and the interaction therein. I like attributes as well, but attributes will need to be moved into entity data. I'm picturing all attributes in entity data. I'm picturing timers for and the relationships between effects and abilities to get triggered in processors potentially. So I think I'll probably still try to use the assets. I'll still have gameplay tags. I'll still have the gameplay ability assets. I will still have the gameplay effect assets. And the tag and the relationship between all those will work the same is what I'm picturing in my head. But then it's like the processing for that will happen. John C. Sylar, welcome in, guys.
Why are you running?
Very good, baby.
Why are you running?
Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We got him.
we got him.
What the dog doing?
How was your stream, Stevie? What were you working on? Anything that you would like to share, please let me know. I was just talking about rewriting gas and what I would do for it. I just realized, so Sylar, I know you were interested in this, but I'm switching back. I actually realized that the multi-threading ended up not being worth it. It scaled well at 2K entities. It performed better, but at 10K entities, it actually ran worse than just plain UObject entity data. So the thread contingent was too high, even with fine-grained per entity data locks and a pool-wide lock, specifically only locking. And I only did I wrote this like fancy right scope lock. Like I wrote my own fucking mutex handler thing here. So that's that. I wish I had stuff to share. I just fixed a lot of issues I made myself. Well, hey, that's you made progress. I literally just got done reverting my revert. So I started with entity data pools. I was like, you know what? I need better iteration speed. I switched to entity archetypes. I was like, okay, I want to run it on the background thread. That's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard with the entity archetypes. So I switched back to entity data pools. And I was like, okay, that's actually the multi-threaded is not worth it at a large scale. Now I'm switching back to archetypes. Snip, snap, snip, snap. You have no idea the physical toll that 3 refactors has on a man. And that is, for those who don't know, that's a snip, snap, snip. That's from The Office. Michael Scott has like, what is it? He has like 3 vasectomies reversed. And he's like, you have no idea the physical toll that 3 vasectomies has on a man. So yeah, that's me, but with reverting my own code. So I have no one else to blame but myself. So suffice to say, Stevie, I'm happy you made progress. I've learned a lot. I have learned an absolute lot. One might say a fuck ton, but progress has not been made. Progress has not been made. Just run it on tick and target next gen hardware. Yep, just that is the default Unreal Engine. The typical virgin Unreal Engine developer. Yeah, no optimization needed, right? It's the lessons we learn along the way, isn't it? Yeah, it's the pain we experience along the way as well. But yeah, I mean, we're just doing everything on the game thread right now. So there's no, I just got done with the reversion. So we did have 2,000 entities running at 60 FPS, but that was with everything asynchronously processing, not blocking the game thread. So right now everything's running on the game thread and we're back down to like 15 to 20 FPS. So kind of a step back in that regard, but what I'll be able to do is do parallel processing. I can still do that. I can still do parallel processing, so I can kick it off to the background threads, but it needs to be synchronized with the game thread. So that's going to be the next like thing that I do. I'm kind of holding off on that though, because parallel processing means like I'm taking one processor and running that specific processor on multiple threads. So that's going to make it harder to do a performance comparison when I do like refactors to my gameplay logic. So I'm kind of like kicking that can down the road a little bit, so that I can keep more of a one-to-one relationship between some of these performance benchmarks that I've been writing down. Run everything on tick, isn't that what all the cool YouTube tutorials say? I feel like everyone like specifically makes it like such a big deal to point out that tick is the devil, right? I still think you should refactor the final award-winning version of your game. Oh, don't worry. There will be plenty of refactors ahead. I still need to refactor the building system. I'm going to refactor my terrain generation. back onto the CPU. I'm going back and forth. But I am kind of wrapping up the stream here, so I'll probably be streaming for another, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes. But for those who don't know about the game, let's show the game. I am working on an RPG Colony Sim Roguelite with procedural, destructible terrain and AI-generated quests. I'm working on refactors to my ECS system because I want to run the whole fucking world. Or at least as much as I can. As much as I can get away with. It's a big world. Here's the world map. There's me. Record scratch. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. But each pixel on here is a terrain chunk. And so if I were to click here, there's a terrain chunk. So we got like 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got like a 4 terrain chunk radius that's about this big. And so this map is like 15 kilometers large. So if you build a colony right here, and then you run all the way up here, I want your colony to still be running. And if you send some guys out to the forest to chop trees, they are going to need to run all the way over there, chop the tree down, and bring it back, just like they would as if you were there. The only difference is like they're not actually rendered, so that would be an could entirely run on the background thread. Because I don't have any, I wouldn't have any representation that is game thread bound. But you know, if there's any other enemies in the forest or something like that, they will get attacked whether you're there or not. And there's going to be other NPC ran colonies in the world. And hopefully that makes the world feel really alive and well. That's what I'm going for. My dynamic tree chopping in full swing here. Tick has its uses. It's not the devil. Just gotta be smart about when to use it. Yeah, it's really just about not using it when you don't need to, right? That's really what it's about. We have underground caves as well. This was an absolute fucking pain in the ass to implement, but it looks fucking sick now. So, very happy we got that done. I just need Prismatica to finish up with his water system so that I don't have to learn how to use water. There's a nice little cave here. Eventually we'll have some ore spawn down here with some monsters and whatnot. I could turn on spawning, but it's probably going to get it's probably going to get quite laggy. We can try to turn it on. We'll turn on spawning and see how that goes. And we'll pick a different seed while we're at it here too. 689, 690. Thanks, Prismatica. I know, right? Shout out. Kind of a boring seed because it's just all flat. Same. I only have like 2 different biomes at the moment, so things aren't super different. Okay, we should, once like all the PCG stuff loads in for each chunk, it'll spawn. Let's see, we already have some entities over there. Oh my god, that guy's freaking the fuck out. What did I do? This was running fine. What did I fuck up? Like I had to rewrite velocity and gravity into a processor because there's no collision. Like these guys don't have collision on them. Some of them are moving fine. Oh yeah, that's broken. So he's supposed to be dealing damage to me. So I've broken my processors. Okay, it's wonderful. There's just a mace floating here. Okay, now it's gone. Cool, thank you. So, it ain't working no good. It ain't working no good. AI-generated quests. Okay, Zephyr, Forests, whatever. Let's generate a quest. Sure, you can join my colony as well. Why not? Welcome aboard. Okay, so Zephyr Forest's End is this guy's name. 36-year-old male elf priest who is quiet and optimistic. Zephyr grew up in a secluded forest community where he learned the importance of peace. Zephyr is a man of few words, but his quiet wisdom and unwavering faith inspire those around him. Okay, let's see what quest got AI fucking generated from this guy. Talk. The forest whispers of a growing unease, young Tal, which is my name. The creatures shy away from the usual springs. The bird song has faded. Something is amiss. I believe it is a corruption, a blight settling upon the sacred grove to the south. It is small now, a mere shadow, but left unchecked, it will fester and spread, poisoning the land. I would ask you, Tal, to journey to this grove. And so that, like, the AI gave me like a JSON response that I told it to, I dumped my entire ADAM database along with every character that was spawned into the world here. Like all that background I just read, I dumped all of that for every character into the prompt. And I was just like, hey, generate me a fantasy RPG video game quest and put it into this JSON object. And I gave it some like kind of encodings and stuff that it could pick from. I've gotten it to actually like spawn things into the world. So like I give it a list of quest objectives, like explore, obtain, talk to, defeat is another one. You know, you need to go kill things, you know, so I can pick from a list of objectives and it can start filling out these objective arrays. And then I have another array that it can fill out for if it wants to spawn something. It just needs to pick something from my database to spawn, right? And it does so actually pretty well. But yeah, this is like the quest journal entry worded from the perspective of the player over here. And we're super laggy, but it gives me some more like dialogue options too. Tell me more about the Sacred Grove. What kind of dangers might I encounter? Why can't you go yourself? Okay, and you can accept the quest. Yeah, all my entities are, and then he just does that. So yeah, let's turn off spawning. That was a bit of a nightmare. It used to work a lot better than that, I promise. So yeah, that's my game. That is my game. And I guess I need to figure out what I want to do next. I think refactoring the target processor is probably the next thing I should do, because that one is I can't even run it, it's so bad. I can't even run it, it's so bad. And part of that is so bad because it has the ability system inside of it that it needs to like grab ad hoc, you know. So this is a nice little zone transition here. We go from like the craggy meadows zone, which doesn't make any sense, to a foresty biome. I think it looks quite nice. But this is all just placeholder assets at the moment. These are all just like free for the month things that I've kit bash together, of course. New freebies tomorrow? Nice. Yeah, I hate that they changed it to like every 2 weeks, because I feel like I never know now. I feel like I never know. Okay, let's plan for next stream. I want to continue to find ways to split up my entity data. I think right now probably my most egregious thing is maybe just using the ability system component everywhere, and I think most places that I use it, it's just for like if the entity is dead, which is basically just checking health. And I'm wondering if I should just have like a gameplay tag container entity data. That way I don't need to like reference and then maybe I'll just override there's probably some functions in the ability system component that I can override to check that. Target processor. Oh, I'll rewrite aggro too. Okay. Rewrite aggro into entity data. That's a good one. Targeting and aggro information into entity data. Let's jot down some notes here. So to rewrite aggro tables, because that just exists on the entity or the ability system component now, into entity data. To rewrite current target into entity data. Yeah, tood. Tood. You know what has some tood? This fucking processor. I could probably just lump that in with combat data, because all that is now is an aggro radius. Literally 4 bytes of data here on the struct. Repro, how's the day night going? It's going good. It's going good. We just reverted the revert, so we're back to where we started, which is great news. And then once we get into the entity query, the chunk processor, this can be, I need to change my F targetable to not, oh, I wanted to rewrite, yeah, we need to do something where it's, to do, rewrite, or maybe I should say add player. Maybe it's like F player entity data, so that we can change F targetable to not require an ASC. So that's, we need to do that before we can get rid of the ability system from here. Because otherwise there's no way for these entities to target players. They can only target other entities. But we can change it to not require an ASC. So those are kind of those are going to be larger changes. We can get rid of the player controller iterator too there. That would be nice. That would be nice. And then what am I doing in this specific query? Is alive. Yeah, is alive. And so that's going to be... Don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. I guess I don't care. Yeah, we do check if is alive. So that's going to require other entities. And I guess to get, I would need to ad hoc get another entity's data. So this one, yeah, so that requiring that data could be being written to. Well, if I run this on a complete, if I run this contiguously, it would be fine to get the target, because the target's only being set from this processor, from another loop. So this would need to run in a contiguous background task. Although I think there are actually some events that happen, like taking damage could change the current target, I think. But maybe I'll need to change that to happen in here. We'll see. Will need to be a lot of testing. I probably just need to fix whatever is not working now. Actually, because yeah, the velocity processor was not looking too good. They weren't able to do damage, so I need to figure out what's going on there. Another to do, look into having an F gameplay tag entity data instead of ASC. So we will need to find out if I can override some functions on the ability system component to read from that tag container. Or I mean, maybe I just grab a, could I grab a ref or like a view or something to the ability system component thing? I don't know. It's something to look into. Something to look into. This also is super annoying. Yeah, so I can maybe even like sending events to the state tree. Oh, that's a frustrating one. I would like to be able to send events from wherever. And I would not be able to send one from the target processor. That could cause a crash. It could. To do figure out how to handle this whilst on a background thread. Okay. So we need to do that, and then I just need to fix all the fucking issues that I just saw. That's gonna do it for me, folks, for today. I'm happy I got that reverted. I thought that was gonna be a much bigger fucking change. So I actually didn't make much progress today, but I do feel good about what we did at the same time. Let's see what's going on. Let's see who's doing things. Interesting. Trying to find someone to rate. How's the game coming along? It's going well. Bit of a step back, but we're doing good. UE5, C++. Not in English, so not gonna send you guys there, unfortunately. I just raid Zed here. Oh, Team Vash streaming. Maybe go over there. Yeah, we're gonna raid Zed here. Only the people I have online are Zed and Cavino. We've raided Cavino like 3 times in a row now, I think. So sorry, Cavino, I love you, but we're gonna give some love over to Zed, sorry, who's doing some Go web dev, it seems. I'm gonna send you guys over there. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with me today. It doesn't do a YouTube stream, so sorry, everyone over at YouTube. You're just gonna go into you're gonna have to go back to doom scrolling on shorts. I'm so sorry. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me. Appreciate you all being here, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.